All right, guys.
Welcome to the Deer Shop Podcast, presented by Siman Brothers Outdoors and the Leaky John Boat Company.
He went and watched a movie that has a $200 million production budget, and then the next thing he watched was our video on YouTube that has a $0 production budget.
This is the first buck I've shot in over 10 years.
Your track job was the first fun track job. That kind of like, I think part of my life was influenced by that night.
Then you miss him 3 times with a rifle at 70 yards on video and the whole world to see.
Yeah, that's what Caleb did. 5 years ago, we couldn't shoot a deer at 100 yards with a slug gun. Now you're shooting turkeys at 100 yards with a shotgun.
Joey takes
The shop is closing up.
Make sure he takes all his right antlers. You can't leave it.
All right, guys. I get to do it this week, Isaac.
Yep, I did it last week.
Deer Shop Podcast, episode 89. We are doing a shop talk today and talking about controversy in the outdoor space. I'm your host, Caleb Siman. We are joined by Uncle Jay in studio today, Ethan and Isaac. How are you guys doing?
Good. 4-man podcast. First one in a while.
Yeah, I can't even remember our last 4-man podcast.
We were getting around doing some big podcasts, and then we decided to rein them back in with fewer people because they get a little bit hard to follow.
Yeah, and hunting season, it's easier to get 3 or 4 guys in here. Once the off season hits, it's harder to pull a bunch of people together. But my God, is it shitty outside.
Yeah, first weekend of April, it's Sunday morning. I guess we don't have really much else to do. Wanted to get a bunch of stuff done outside, but it's sleeting currently.
Yeah, it's miserable.
Awful.
Yeah, I got to bring in firewood. It's fucking April.
Oof.
It is 30-some degrees, and like Isaac said, sleeting, snowing, raining. It has rained probably, 4 to 6 inches this week or more. It's the water's as high as I've ever seen it.
Like there's huge flooding going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Luke's house is going to get taken away if it rains anymore, even though he's 20 feet above the river.
Yeah. Yeah, Luke's chicken coop's gone, right? Did he send any videos of it this morning?
No.
He moved
probably
Do you think it got washed away?
Well, the water
the water was coming up to it.
It was like the water was touching it last night.
It rained all night, didn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it did.
Yeah, it did.
For some reason, the farmhouse is like encapsulated from the weather, except for the thunder. Can't hear any rain. Can't hear any of that shit.
I had my window open last night, so
No.
You slept with the window open.
it was 95 degrees in my room.
I guess I could.
Farmhouse probs.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of our crew's actually in Pennsylvania trout fishing for the opener there. We don't like to go this super early due to scheduling and stuff. It was easier for them to go this week. There's a lot of stuff happening at the end of the month with turkey hunting and birthdays and just stuff. The water's way up there, but they hammered fish yesterday morning.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. We were getting snaps from multiple guys.
Oh, that's cool.
They were hammering fish. They were hammering big fish, catching browns and brooks. I didn't see very many rainbows. I know they probably caught 1 or 2, but
The guys that are hammering fish have been fishing there for 30 years, and they know what they're doing.
But they were killing the fish. But then after about 10 a.m., all the snaps stopped, and I haven't seen a single snap from anyone because I think it started to rain and they just all started
They're
drinking.
sitting in a cabin and drinking for 3 days, which doesn't sound
Enjoying
terrible.
their weekend away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've got a couple weekends until we
Good
go
plan
do that.
B.
Yeah, we
3
have
weeks, yeah.
we have FDIC next weekend.
You guys
some
still
of our
go to
crew-
that?
Well, I have not been in 7 years, but the department wanted to send some of the younger people that had never been, so I said, fuck it, I'll go. That's the volunteer department. The full-time department is actually sending
I'm
people.
wearing an FDIC shirt.
Yeah, you
I
went.
I went 2 years ago.
Squirrel.
But I got paid for it.
Well,
I'm not getting. We're not getting paid, but the full-time guys are sending a crew for the combat challenge. So they did it last year.
That's
They're
cool.
doing it again this year. So we're gonna go up there for a few days. The weekend after that is the opener of turkey season. We're geared up for that. We'll report on that after we kill one, hopefully. And then we've been trying to do a bunch of food plotting stuff, but
Well, it's too wet now. I don't even know what you could do.
it was nice. We had a nice stretch of dry, warm weather, over the last month where we were able to get some stuff set up. I got the frost seeding done. We started clearing some stuff. Trails are in real bad shape just because of the erosion and the trees falling from the wind, and now they're going to be even worse. So we got to do some of that type of work once it dries out sometime. Dad's wood trailer's stuck in one of the valleys. Can't get it up a hill because it's
Probably
so
washed
nasty.
away right now.
If it's in the bottom, I'm gonna go check it out today. It's nasty out there. But
Yeah.
And it's 35 degrees.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's not just wet, it's
That
cold,
doesn't
too.
help.
yeah,
No,
Yep.
Good day to be in the shop.
yeah. Yes, sir. Today's podcast topic, and we're pretty much going to get right into it. There's been a lot of different controversies hitting the internet, and probably based a little bit on the stuff we just talked about. People are inside. People are cooped up. They're waiting for the spring to fully open. There's been a lot of things hitting the internet recently that are creating waves, and it was just a perfect opportunity to kind of touch on those, give our take on them, shoot the shit, you know.
A lot of that probably has to do with the Sportsman Show kind of tours have been going on.
Yep.
So February, March, April, that's when they all happen.
Yep. The open season's one. Then there's the big one in Pennsylvania. The Iowa Deer Classic is either just happened or is happening soon. We've never obviously been to that one, but we didn't go to any shows this year, did we?
Aren't they getting kind of
They're
phased
pointless.
out?
They're pointless to go to.
We've talked about it a little bit. It's like half outfitters, and then a quarter like beef jerky and hobnob jewelry and like
Custom arrow makers.
Yeah.
So when I was little, my dad used to take me to the one at the IX Center.
Yeah,
Yes.
outdoor show.
And it was like the highlight of my year was going to that thing.
You hear turkey collars.
Fish tank.
It doesn't even exist now, right?
No.
It's
No,
the
that one.
only one is in Columbus.
Yeah.
For
And that's
Ohio.
it. And that's
and
it.
it's terrible.
It's dog shit.
There's the Mount Hope one down in Millersburg. But
That's even
it's pretty much
smaller.
the same thing. It's just a smaller version of Columbus.
And the only reason you would go is you want to talk to some of these people that are from the companies, I guess, and YouTube channels and stuff.
And the problem is that there's not a lot of, like, only a few of the companies are making that circuit and rounds. Like, a lot of guys and a lot of people are not doing it anymore. It's just easier to advertise and sell things online, so they're not even doing the circuit. So it would be cool to be able to find out or figure out a way to make a trade show awesome again. But I mean, I
how
guess
would
there's
you?
the Mobile Hunters Expo, but we haven't done any of that stuff. We haven't gone down that route yet with those guys.
That's how I feel about that. Lots of talk.
So speaking of the shows, the biggest thing, the one I want to talk about first, the one that's getting the most traction online right now, and I guess to be fair, there hasn't been really any news articles on this one. It's not as viral as some of the other stuff we're going to talk about, but in the bow hunting groups and in the hunting groups that we follow on social media, the big news has been at the Open Seasons Expo in Wisconsin a couple weeks ago. There's a new state record Wisconsin non-typical buck that was entered, and it's drawn a ton of controversy because of the fact that it beats the old record by 50 plus inches net. It beats the old net record by 50 plus inches. It scores 306 net, 39 points. It was killed in Marquette County, Wisconsin, on public land with a muzzleloader.
What year was it killed?
This last season is what it is stated.
Oh, this past season.
Yes. It was unknown up until the measuring at the show. So this guy walked into a show. I'm not going to say his name because the story's still unfolding. He walked into the show holding a 312-inch gross
Mount.
39-point buck saying, I shot this on public land in Wisconsin this year. Measure this thing.
How was it presented? Was it already mounted? Was it a skull cap?
There are photos of the skull cap, but at the show, it was that picture I sent you where it's on the wall mounted with the cards below it, like saying score and pending new state typical. Or
So
non-typical
it walked in there just like you would take your buck into a show to have it scored.
And we've done that before.
And they hang it up on the wall for the show. Everybody
So
sees
he
all the bucks.
killed it and had it mounted within a couple months?
Apparently.
Yeah, I guess that's not.
I mean, we get our deer back from Joey before this time.
We've gotten deer back in February before.
Jason has got me my deer back in. Actually, I shot one in November. I think I got it back in January.
Yeah.
But it depends on your tax service. The mount got a lot of heat online because it looked like shit, I guess. Like, obviously, I'm just looking at one or two photos I've seen on Facebook, and it's got a weird bulge in its neck. Like, it's not a high quality mount for a world record class deer. It would actually, if that score sticks, I looked it up just for the hell of it, it would be the 6th biggest deer ever, and it would be the 4th biggest deer ever killed by a hunter in the world.
Really?
In the history of the world.
Wow.
Yeah. 306 would put it at,
And it just walks into an outdoor show.
And like arguably you'd think it might be the all-time public
Yeah.
land.
Yeah, I don't see how
there-
it would not be the all-time
Probably,
public land,
you know?
for sure. All
Well,
the
and
ones,
then-
I know
and what about just muzzleloader?
the ones above it.
Probably an all-time muzzleloader.
No, Steven Tucker's Tennessee buck was a muzzleloader buck. I do know that. The one that it was like,
That was the world record for a while, right?
no, it had all the crazy points. It looked like a farm deer. It had all the crazy points. They said
Well,
it was
didn't that
only
end up
like
being poached?
3 years old. I don't think
There was
so.
a Tennessee deer that was a poaching situation.
That one I'm not. I don't believe that one was one. I think we talked about that one. We did talk about the Hollywood buck, which was a Tennessee buck that was poached. This Steven Tucker buck was from a couple years ago, like maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. a very out of place, non-typical buck, but there's a whole bunch of stuff written about it. That deer would be the highest muzzleloader. Luke Brewster currently holds the world record, that Indiana buck. The one, it has like, for lack of a better term, it has like 227 inches on one side and 100 on the other.
Whoa. Yeah, it's like a 130 rack with like
the one side's
12-inch tine sticking off.
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. But this buck that we're talking about, this new Wisconsin that this gentleman shot, the problem is the antlers are bleach white. And all the photos of the deer show this deer.
It looks weird, man.
Bleach white.
And it has prickly pedicles.
Yeah, he's not smooth. He hasn't been rubbed out on his pedicles.
He hasn't been rubbed
No
out.
broken tines, no coloration in the antlers whatsoever. So a lot of people are skeptical. There's no trail camera photos of this deer. There was one that I found that was similar that someone posted. Yes, and it does have the same style brows and beams and kickers, but it's considerably smaller. It has way less junk than the one that the guy killed. So,
but there's nothing saying that these companies aren't putting trail cameras in these high fence farms
and
to
that's
advertise.
Yes, right, exactly. And just for their own record, they need to use the trail cameras just like the real hunters do to know where deer are moving, what's happening.
The one weird thing I did notice about that picture, the trail camera picture you posted, it looked like a mature deer. And a lot of times these high fence deer are younger deer. Like they'll shoot a 300-inch deer and it'll be 3 years old.
Right.
The trail camera picture looked like a big, mature, pot-bellied deer.
Yeah. What was the backstory of the trail cam picture? It was miles away. It was like not even remotely in the same area or something. And when you showed it to me, it was from 2022. Even then, you could make the argument that's not the same deer.
Yeah, it's too far away. I mean, they look similar, but I mean, look at how many deer we have on the wall behind here from this farm.
You could just take any basically 2 year apart, non-typical big deer and go, well, that could be the deer.
I do not know if there was any to my knowledge, the trail camera picture was posted didn't give away locations. It just stated it was from the years from sometime prior 2022, 2023 maybe. And maybe my information's a little bit incorrect, and maybe this guy did shoot the buck in 2023 and just brought to the show this year. There are, like I said, there's no articles yet and things are being investigated, so it's hard to say. We're just going off of the telephone game. Mm-hmm. But even if it was, and the guy who posted the trail camera pictures, I think his comment was the deer did disappear. And we got pictures of him up until deer season, and then he disappeared that year, never to be seen again.
Does the buck have a name?
No.
No name?
I have the name of the hunter, but I don't want to blast him out there until the information.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I find the most interesting is what you told me, if it's true, that the dude he's just an older guy, no social media, just a dude who goes hunting.
Walked into a trade show.
So
well, there was the one picture of him sitting on the deer. Did you see that one?
Yeah, but it only shows the neck up.
It looks like he's sitting on the mount.
Right,
it's like in the back of a pickup truck or something. It's dark.
Like one of those drag sleds.
Yeah, it's like dark. You can see the antlers and you see him sitting on it, but like it's facing the same way as the mount. It looks almost like he's sitting on the mount.
Interesting.
Dan Infalt was actually the one that posted that.
Yeah, and he's wearing orange I asked, and I talked about this pre-podcast a little bit. I messaged Dan Infalt yesterday, and I was like,
"Did he get any response?"
Yeah, he responded. I'm like, "What's going on with this deer? Like from your area, And he's literally said, like, we know, like, I know nothing. Like all of a sudden, the state record deer, a top 3 in the world, was killed by me, and nobody has seen a picture. Like no one local knows anything about it. I don't know how big that county is, but if it's a county the size of Medina, and there was a 300-inch deer running around, you know how many pictures of that deer would be? Plus, the drone guys would just find him. It'd stick out like a sore thumb from the air.
Yeah, they'd find him and kill him in a week.
No bad blood.
Yeah, right. Anyways,
that's how easy it is.
But yeah, so for a 300-inch wild deer that was living anywhere on any type of public land to disappear without any back history, it's impossible.
Yeah, I just go with the whole anytime something like that happens, if like we were talking pre-podcast, if it's a young dude, we're automatically skeptical. Like, it's the CJ thing, right? Like he's young dude, wants clout, needs money, whatever. But an older guy with what does he have to gain out of it? I don't know, like
fame.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, old guys could be shitbags too.
Oh, no question, no question. But like immediately, you would think he has social media.
Yeah. And maybe he has a social media that I haven't been able to find and no one else has been able to find, because I haven't seen any chatter, and this was posted in multiple groups and they got 600-700 comments of people just looking for information, and no one has been able to really turn up anything. So I'm sure, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, if this deer was wild and he killed it the right way, I'm sure that he is lining up his ducks for the story release of some kind through some avenue.
It's a modern day Rampala buck.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would have your story ready to go before you show up at a random show. I think this is some dentist that shot a high fence buck and just, he doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
Goes into a show and says, "Hey, I shot this buck." He doesn't realize that it's a big deal.
I think a lot of people think you're trained. I think a lot of people think it the same way you do. A lot of people think it's a high fence deer that he's just entering in the books. Similar to that OG. Do you remember that whole situation back in archery talk? There was that guy, Ohio Booners, that killed all these record class deer, and everyone thought he was a great hunter. And he was hunting this buck called the OG buck, which we still don't really know whether it was a real deer or not. I think it probably was a world record typical size buck in southern Ohio. And then people looked into it more because there are sheds floating around and there's a whole bunch you can read about
I think
it.
we've talked about it before.
In the end, if it turns out all these deer this guy posted on these online forums and shit were all from high fences. He didn't actually kill any free range deer. So his backstory was all fake. The fact that deer may or may not have existed, that was back before cell cameras and stuff. So it reminds me a lot of that. And like you said, the Rampala buck, obviously.
Yeah.
Speaking of crazy public land bucks, how much do we believe that kid that found those sheds in Pennsylvania? Have you seen the videos of those?
Oh yeah, there's a couple podcasts that talk about this.
So it's kind of been blown out. So it's not like we're spilling any secrets here. Some dude, I don't know if he's an influencer or not. I think he's just kind of a guy that posts online. Found a set of typical sheds that he says are in public land in Pennsylvania, and it's got to be a 200+ inch typical deer.
Yes,
and he walks up to it, showing on his TikTok.
So if you want to know, and I got to give proper credit here because I'm gonna cite this verbatim. If you want to know the full story of this, it was told on Working Class Bow Hunters episode 706. Was Zach Jacoby. He told the story.
Is that the guy?
No, he's a guy who knew about the deer. His friend was hunting the deer. I'll paraphrase it. That podcast, Working Class Bow Hunter 706, that's when they talked about it for actually the second time. His friend, the first time they talked, this story actually gets pretty crazy. This Zach Jacoby's a big TikTok influencer. That's why we don't really know who he is because we don't do the TikTok thing. Huge TikTok influencer, maybe the biggest hunting TikTok influencer there is.
Really?
He had a friend that was hunting a world-class deer. He wouldn't give the information about where and when, all this stuff. His friend shot said deer, watched it lay down, get back up after 45 minutes, run off over a hill onto public land. He left, got a game warden and a tracking dog, went in, they started tracking it, found a gut pile. Game warden opens up an investigation. They sleuth the internet. They never release pictures of this deer. They sleuth the internet to someone's going to turn up saying they shot this deer. Nothing happens. Those sheds are found. It's the buck he shot.
Really?
And they are sheds. They researched the photos and everything. The pedicles, they're sheds. Guy claims that he knew about said buck and was getting trail camera pictures of him and was able to find the sheds on public land. He lives close to private land. And the deer in question that guy shot is not in fact dead, but he says he shot him and watched it lay down, and the game warden helped him track it to a blood pile or to a gut pile. So it brings up multiple things. A, he shot a different buck that he didn't know, just in the hullabaloo of, oh my God, that's a giant. I shot this deer and it was a different deer. B, the dog just followed the blood trail, got sidetracked, and ended up finding a different gut pile, which is also possible. But regardless, there is a world record typical size deer living in Pennsylvania. Somewhere. Yeah. And unfortunately, if you look, and I don't remember the name, I'm not going to say him anyways, of the hunter and the guy who found the sheds, he has a social media account. If you look up where he lives and his friends and where they live and his wife and where she lives,
people are researching.
You can find it instantly where it's at.
Yeah.
It's not close to where we hunt, but I don't think it's that far. We could drive there from where we hunt.
I mean, you don't understand. I mean, so this kid posts this video. How hard is it for people to go on and figure out exactly where he lives?
Watch the curvature. Look at the curvature of the mountains behind him. You know.
Yeah, you can just see where he lives. He's probably not going shed hunting 5 hours from home.
Right.
I'm sure he's going shed hunting close to where he.
Yeah, if
lives
you find
or
where he
hunts.
lives, you're going to find the area of
Onyx
the deer.
is just the easiest. You use Onyx for your wedding list.
Yeah.
For everyone's addresses. You
You
just,
just
look
type
his
in their
up.
name and you can find their house.
Yeah.
Oh, look, public land right
find
next to
out
it on X.
I type in
there's
someone's
no
name and I could
secrets.
find out how many patio chairs they have in their backyard.
If we had found a set of sheds like that, I have no doubt that we would probably post them online and a part of some videos, but they would be like in my garage or in our basement or here in the shop. Like, look at these sheds. Like, you can't, it's like fishermen.
Yeah, I found them in
You
Massachusetts.
can't post the giant muskie that you caught with the city of Cleveland in the background. Like,
Yeah,
bro.
It's like the old school muskie pictures where they blank out the skyline
Yep.
in the background.
It's exactly that.
But no, he just has a video of him out there.
yeah. He got excited, and they are incredible sheds. Oh, my God.
That's awesome.
But-
I haven't seen that video.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
check
pretty.
it out.
We'll find it for you before the end of the.
They are insane.
Yeah.
And public land in Pennsylvania.
So, and that's a.
Unless this whole story is just trying to throw us off, and they were from Indiana or Illinois, or
And they would be smart if that was true, and they should do that. But pretty sure I checked, like, I sleuthed a little bit and found that the dude's wife lives in, like, you know,
this is the public
so and
land
so
out his
city,
back door.
Pennsylvania, like, and you don't realize that, like, guys are going to go to that level for that kind of deer.
Oh yeah,
Oh, hundreds of people.
especially when it's public land.
Yeah, and we've said
I
this
feel
before.
sorry for anybody who hunted that public land before.
We've said this before. You could go to the most desolate, barren public land in the middle of nowhere. It takes one guy to ruin your trip.
Yep.
That's all it takes. And now you got thousands of guys converging on public land. Who knows? It could take one guy to ruin your entire hunt, trip, everything.
Pennsylvania is a massive sleeper. I mean, we know that there's good quality deer there based on the people we've talked to in the areas we hunt and stuff, but, like, there's a lot of videos popping up on YouTube and stuff where dudes are killing, like,
But it's
200 class bucks in Pennsylvania.
It is different than a lot of the other states because the numbers are not as high.
Well, I wonder if our non-resident prices are going to change that a little bit. If our non-resident prices have gone up,
Yeah, because Pennsylvania's cheap.
Pennsylvania's cheap.
But you could go hunt for a week and see one deer. So, like, it is different there than it is here.
Yeah.
But the deer are there. It's just, it's a different ballgame.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of those big giant deer are, they're using some public land and stuff, obviously, but they're in the agricultural areas of Pennsylvania. If you go to the true big mountains, yeah, there can be a 160, maybe a 178-year-old mountain legend, but, you know, the world record typical ain't that one. He's living somewhere farming.
We're actually going to circle back to where we hunt in Pennsylvania when we're talking about the logging stuff at the end.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this area again a little bit, but let's switch gears real quick off of the hunting, and let's talk about the second thing that's hitting social media right now pretty hard. It's hitting fishing reaches a broader audience than the deer hunting stuff. So this is hitting Reddit. This is hitting the national news. This is on CNN. We're going to talk about Brock Horner.
I don't know about the numbers, but there is more people fishing every day than there is hunting.
Sure.
Oh,
100%.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It's almost easier to pick up a fishing rod and then go
Yeah.
there.
You can live suburban New York and fish.
More
You could be
people.
the most diehard fisherman in the world.
Yeah. So the name Brock Horner might not elicit any response from people, but if I tell you about the charter captain, who's the best motherfucking charter captain in the world
Ever.
ever, basically,
Hey, we know one of those.
yeah, shout out Ryan Petrie.
There can only be one.
Yeah. So this Brock Horner gentleman, there's a video that's been flying around social media, especially the TikToks, the Instagrams, and the news. He's a charter captain from Florida, and he got in a verbal altercation and was berating a young man.
How old is the kid?
22.
22.
22-year-old kid was fishing on his boat. This Brock guy was working for, I have it written down here. Just got to find it. He was formerly working for Tarpon Coast Fishing Charters.
How old is Brock?
50s, 40s.
No, he's not 50s, no.
I mean, he's an old dude.
He was
Is
in
he?
Iraq, which is 2001.
Oh, that's true.
You know,
Okay.
Second Iraq, but still, yeah, he's an older gentleman. But basically, let me just read the article real quick to set the stage. In the video, Brock Horner appears to think that Towles, which is the last name from the young man, was involved in a previous near collision, but the 22-year-old insisted it was a different boat and that Horner has him confused for someone else. The confrontation in the video implies that prior to filming Horner, Prior to the filming, Horner sped through the brigade and had an altercation with another boat driver who did not have their lights on. That altercation was also heated. Although Towles was clearly angry at Horner for driving too fast under the bridge, he repeatedly tells Horner in this video that he was not the person who Horner nearly hit, nor was he involved in the previous altercation in any way. The footage shows Towles trying to de-escalate the situation, explaining to Horner, who was on a boat with 4 other men, many times that he is not the boat driver Horner thinks he is. John Winowski, who says he was on the boat with Horner, posted a video TikTok saying that Horner had been boasting all day about being the best captain in Florida, but that they had not caught a single fish and they were drinking a lot instead. He added that earlier that day they had gone under the bridge at around 60 miles an hour. He said that it was kind of scary, honestly. The exact quote was, "I'm 300 days a year on the fucking water every day. I'm the best charter captain you'll ever meet." As per Florida arrest records, Horner's been arrested 12 times. He's a graduate of Florida Gulf Coast. He's a U.S. Army Ranger veteran. He was in Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. He's been with the Tarpon Coast Fishing Charters for a while. Blah, 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 blah. He's been arrested for carrying guns on school ground, DUIs, battery, assault, much other things. So basically the problem is he boarded this young man's boat and got he actually grabbed his shirt. I believe it said he hit the throttle and like pushed or made the boat like lurch away. A lot of comments I've seen on there is basically that's piracy. If you board someone else's boat and try to commandeer it from him and threaten him.
There's huge thing. It's just like your car. Like people can't come on your boat because that's your property. That could be your residence per se. It's like someone breaking into your house. There's huge things with boats and people getting on them without permission.
Yeah, and he obviously took it too far. He was intoxicated at the time.
Which is also illegal, driving a boat intoxicated.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the Florida laws in the ocean are.
Well,
if someone on the boat was sober.
I think it's universal.
It's like there's rules of the road.
Just being a captain.
Inlet style.
So when I go with my buddies, just casually, they are certified captain because they run a charter. They're retired firemen. They will not drink because it's their license. Okay. If they get caught, despite them working or not, you can't drink and boat.
It's the same thing with the truck driver. They can't drink and drive. The boat captains can't drink
Just
and
like
boat.
everyone. You can't drink and drive anything.
I think it's a little
but
presumptive of you
they
guys.
have a less tolerance level.
Yeah.
Like a truck driver is not allowed to have any alcohol in their system. Yeah. We're allowed to have a little bit.
It's presumptive of you guys to think that the man with 12 DUIs may have been drinking before he had an altercation with this young kid.
No, not 12 DUIs.
Arrested 12 times.
12.
Maybe 1 or 2 DUIs. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations. Obviously, it went out of control, and there's going to be a big example made of it. But when you see a guy that's supposed to be a hero, supposed to be a pillar of the community, and somebody you look up to, Wounded Warriors Project, all that, for him to act like that towards a young man who's fishing by himself on a boat.
Thank you for your service. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, holy shit, man.
Yeah, it's. I think it reached a lot of levels because it has that bullying element to it, which it touches a lot of people. To where here's this big bad, war vet picking on a 22-year-old kid. It doesn't look great.
That leads to more charges too, because there's like menacing charges and threatening charges and more
battery if he touched him. He grabbed his shirt. He did get arrested. So he in the last day or two.
I think they did. It was so big news in such a short amount of time. They did a press conference on it.
Yeah, I mean, and they were
Punta Gorda.
They were screwed.
Yeah, and they said don't call him because we know. Like we're investigating. Stop calling us about it because we already know.
Yeah, I mean. It's weird when the Karen in the situation is someone who's supposed to be the anti-Karen. It hits a little bit differently. This is not some lady going insane because the kid's fishing off her dock, which those videos happen all the time. And they're actually a big draw on YouTube, which kind of sucks. People love watching those videos where someone gets mad that you're fishing somewhere and you're kind of taunting
catching
them.
a 10-pound bass under a screaming Karen.
Yeah, that's a title that is out there everywhere. The screaming Karen in this example is someone who's supposed to be, like I said, kind of a hero and just a big giant douchebag is what he is.
What's sad, overall sad, is he's done.
Yeah,
he's done.
Yep.
He'll never get another fishing job. What do you do from here?
You become Chris Brackett. You just get your own podcast and you become friends with all the famous people in the world, and you act like the bad thing that you did that's horrible never happened, and you're exonerated. because that's the example.
That's the exact thing that he's
the
doing.
smartest thing this Brock guy could do is start up his own brand of basically hate. Like, he's going to be hated on, obviously, but people are going to click it.
Maybe lean into it.
Yeah, and then build himself up as like, I'm the best motherfucking charter captain in the world, and start that brand.
Wow.
And just be the dick.
Awful.
Oh,
Yeah, sounds real.
How does Chris Brackett have an audience still?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there are people who still worship that man, and he did the worst thing you could ever do. He poached a deer on video and told his cameraman to burn it. And
Just go watch that
berated
video.
his cameraman. Yeah.
Just watch that video anytime you want to listen to Chris Brackett for anything.
He says God helped bring him back from the depths, but then he still just bashes people every day on the internet.
well, that's
We're
definitely
probably
step
blocked now
one.
'cause I don't
Find
see
God.
anything.
Yeah.
Step
sure.
one is find God.
Yeah, right.
That's
then blame-
always step.
Blame your PTSD like Horner did. He's got bad PTSD.
By the
so
way,
it's
any
okay.
relation to Dylan?
Maybe.
Dylan has spent a lot of time in Florida in the last couple of weeks.
Is it coincidence that Dylan's not in town?
Yeah, right.
Every weekend.
Maybe Dylan supposedly is in Pennsylvania catching trout, but maybe he's back down in
Maybe he's
Florida.
Maybe he's docking the boat.
Yeah, I mean, and the problem is it paints a bad picture for everyone involved when it's hunter on hunter, fisher on fisher. It's not, but it is all over the internet. You can't scroll Instagram without running into it.
We're supposed to be on the same team here.
Yeah.
Yeah, boating is different, man. Just in the handful of times that I spend in North Carolina a year with my buddies who run charters, and boating is a different
A
thing.
little cutthroat down there.
Yeah, there seems to be clicks. You've got your clicks, and then you've got a lot of like, I can't stand that guy. I can't stand that guy. That guy's a dick.
I'm assuming it's the same way up here with the walleye charters.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just a smaller clique.
They all know
Probably,
each other.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to do the big walleye charter podcast eventually when I feel like dealing with the walleye charter guys. Because we know a bunch of them. So
Yeah.
we'll really get them on here. Maybe when the bite gets a little bit better. I know it's ramping up right now. They're catching a shit ton
Probably
of fish.
the worst
but-
time to get them on when the bite's better. They're gonna be fishing.
Right.
You can get them in here in the evening. You can't fish after dark.
He'll be drunk.
Yeah, I mean, they will be drunk. Isaac, this is a perfect time for you to tell your story about rage in fishing.
Oh, I don't know if I've ever shared that story.
I think you did. I think we did the trout camp one.
Yeah, the trout camp stories. We have told that story.
We had, the Trout Camp podcast that I had to heavily edit because you buffoons were drunk and just talking about shit you should not have been talking
You've
about.
had to edit your videos too.
I understand that, but you did it first.
Yeah, the third highest listened to podcast was you being hammered.
Second highest. That bottle, it's up. You might be able to see it in the frame. Somewhere up there's at Traverse City.
That's a trophy up there.
Yeah, god damn it.
Yeah, that's basically the only bad run-in I guess we've had. Usually people are somewhat friendly.
Yeah, but you're running. Yeah, tell the story.
So, not 10 years ago.
Yeah.
15,
More than that.
17
I was in
years
high school, man.
Yeah, I was 14 or 15. So 17, 18 years ago, it was this weekend. We're fishing in Pennsylvania, and we're fishing with Pavlik, Horners. Horners smaller at the time, obviously. And we were hammering the fish.
Smaller than he even is now.
Yeah. We were hammering the fish. This was the heyday of Pennsylvania fishing. Opening weekend, they stocked all the trout. That one weekend, everybody fished. It's pretty much asshole to elbow. There's a fisherman every 10 feet back then.
There was a hard opening time.
Yeah.
8 a.m.
8 a.m. Everybody's in the river. That clock ticks 8 a.m. and everybody casts. But this was later in the day. It might have even been in the afternoon. Opening Saturday or Sunday. We were hammering the fish. There's a local next to us getting pissed off because he's not catching the fish. I don't know why. If he's in the wrong spot, using the wrong bait, whatever.
Tries to drunk asshole, the Zebco 33.
Yeah, big drunk asshole. And then he gets to hammering back and forth with Justin and Matt. And then all of a sudden, I'm sitting there fishing. 15 years old. I'm actually standing on the bank because the river was pretty high, so I'm up on the bank instead of down in the river. And all of a sudden, I'm flying. Flying through the air. Into the water. This dude the altercation must have happened behind. I wasn't paying attention. I was fishing. He just runs to fight Matt, basically. And I'm just a 14-year-old kid standing in the way, just fishing. Into the river, I start floating down the river. I probably got pushed 20 feet into that
No
river.
way.
Over my head.
Brookie hole.
Yeah, right in the brookie hole. But it was up to the banks.
Yeah.
So, it was super high. They get into an altercation. Justin gets punched in the mouth. And the
Doesn't
black
Donnie
eye.
Horner have one arm in a sling? Dylan's dad.
That's the next part of the story. That's kind of the part of the story that we were cutting out because we were sharing too much information.
That part's fine. You guys, no, that.
Well, we chased the whole group of us. There's 12 guys. Ended up chasing this guy and his buddy back into his holler where he lived. Big Donnie got in a fight with his buddy, punched him in the mouth, and Big Donnie's in a arm brace because he had rotator cuff surgery. So he left hand swings. This dude that's like 6'3" hits him in the mouth. The cops come. It was a whole thing.
Dude, that's awesome.
Didn't Justin get like a gnarly black eye?
Yeah.
Like,
Justin
that dude popped
Walker.
Justin
Oh.
Walker right in the face.
And I remember
Walker's this big boy too.
Dude, massive.
I remember watching
roided
it.
out individual, massive.
This dude was pretty tall. He was probably like 6'4". I just remember him hitting Justin like down, like this, like you'd punch like a little kid, like straight down, and then they scuffled for a little bit, and the dude run off.
I was at home with getting my wisdom teeth out. I was
That
laying
was
on the couch.
first. It was the first year I ever went.
Awesome start.
Yeah. So that's our fishing altercation. Nothing happened. They never found the guy. No charges or anything.
I mean, the local cops are probably just like,
Yeah.
Biff,
Well, it was
stay in
the-
your house for the rest of the day, Biff. I'm not fucking dealing
It
with
was
you.
the state patrol
There's
that came.
7 people in that township, you know, like
And this was long before there was any cell phone service. We had to drive to the top of the hill and go to the general store
Wig Hill
to call.
gas station.
Yeah.
Sold, right? It's gone.
They took it down.
Damn. Things are changing.
Yeah. Now we have cell phone service everywhere there, except for Cougar Bob.
I don't because I have AT&T.
No, you do. You
do
haven't been
now.
there in 2 years.
Oh, you know what? I have not been there in 2 years. We're looking at it right now on TV, by the way.
Yeah, that looks.
That's the hunting public. That's the hunting public hunting there where we go.
yeah,
right there.
Rifle season. We don't go there during rifle season.
No, but that's where we fish is what's on the television.
Looks fun.
I mean, it's awesome. You should come with us this year. I don't know why not.
When are you going?
April
25th?
25th.
That weekend.
No.
booked.
He didn't even check anything. He just said he's busy. This man outside of making sure his dog is fed and showing up at work. You can do anything you want at any time.
And I do. And I do.
And that includes not going trucking.
Not going fishing in April in the cold.
Yeah, no, I got to keep it together, man. He's got this
You
eye on
use
the
your
prize.
gear. We're tent camping.
I know, but
Bring all
I'll
your
just
stuff.
be drunk, and I can't. I'm not gonna. I'm
You don't
laying
have to
off the
drink.
drink.
I mean, you would be drunk. That's
Yeah, let's go to the gym and not work out. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Anything else you want to add to the fishing?
No, not really.
All right, we're going to go back to deer hunting. We're going to talk about some asshole. And, you know, it's no secret that here at the Deer Shop Podcast, we are not very big on outfitters, especially people leasing up land around us in our private area here of Ohio. I don't think it's right that people can pay money to come in here and use up these resources and then leave. And it decimates and hurts the population. But
It'd be different if they were doing it the right way, but they are raping and pillaging.
and
It's just not sustainable, though.
no, it's
I mean,
not. And this article is going to talk, you know, we're eventually going to get to it in this next article because it talks about that. But I'm sure a lot of people who are listening have heard of Whitetail Heaven Outfitters because they do a very good job on social media of painting this beautiful picture of the big draw is they offer guided hunts all throughout the year, but they do velvet whitetails in Kentucky. And then they also outfit in Indiana and Ohio and I think Tennessee now, or they're Pennsylvania, maybe there's a couple other states. And they have celebrities come in. They've had Hannah Barron in there. She shot a big, you know, non-typical velvet buck. They have all these pictures showing these beautiful deer that have been killed. They have a huge log cabin. They paint a good picture. But the owner, one of the owners, I think it's owned by multiple people or a family or a group of investors, but one of the owners, Tevis McCauley, has been a fugitive from justice, I guess, for a couple years. Obviously, he has not done any type of violent or sexual crime, anything like that. So he's had warrants out for his arrest for monetary reasons for a while, and he's kind of been on the lam, hiding from the law. And he eventually, there's a video that was released by Outdoor Life. He got arrested in Florida where he was guiding some turkey hunts. They had the dash camera footage and the police body cam stuff. But I guess the charges were failing to pay guides, failing to pay landowners, taking advantage of property leases, and being sued by clients. There's a very big long article, which I might not even read. We might just talk about because I don't feel like reading off the page for a while. But basically, this guy had a very large scale guiding operation, multi-states, hundreds and hundreds of clients a year. And basically, he was not paying for his leases, setting up, you know, one of the articles talked about how he would set up 15 people on one property and nobody would see a deer. and it was not as advertised. There was clients that were not getting the home cooked meals that were advertised. They had to stay at separate Airbnbs and trailers. Just a litany of stuff. And also they were forced to sign NDAs, apparently, that they would not leave a bad review or publicly talk about the outfitter in a bad light.
But you can't make somebody sign an
it's
NDA.
probably when they booked a hunt, they signed the paperwork or booked the hunt or whatever.
That would be
added
more,
in there.
That would be make more sense. That it's part of the contract.
Yeah.
Not an NDA.
Yeah, maybe my wording on that.
Yeah, it's probably part of their contract, client contract. Is that
there's a built-in
they
NDA
agree
there.
to do X, Y, and Z as the client.
Well, just like when you rent an Airbnb, you don't read the whole damn thing.
Right. It's in the fine
Check the
print.
box,
Right.
rent it, good to go.
I'm trying to find exactly what was quoted about that.
So is there any regulations when it comes to outfitters? Like they can only have so many hunters per acre. Is there any of that stuff going on?
You know, I think it probably comes down to the state. Each state has different like laws, but I doubt there is like a span of control type of thing you're talking about. I doubt there is.
I don't think there is.
Yeah, 'cause
I think you just need the outfitter license.
Yeah, the outfitter we had in town, probably at least 300 acres around here, and he was putting 40, 50 hunters a year.
I mean, it was more. He advertised like 6,000 or 2,000,
He
but
can say whatever he wants.
right, exactly. He had at least 700 in the one chunk, and then whatever else. But I mean, he probably had 1,000 acres, but 1,000 acres doesn't hunt as big as people think it does, especially when it's fields. You know, out of that 1,000 acres,
How much is hunted?
only 30% was wooded.
Right.
Yeah.
The rest was just field edge, large open agriculture that he was running. No wonder the farmer was letting him hunt it.
Yeah, and he's got doghouse blinds set up on property lines.
Yeah, right. But how many were visible from the road?
They're
know what I mean?
still there.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
He left them all up.
Those fucking duck decoys are still there
Yeah.
too.
You're paying $2,500, $3,000 to come to Ohio for a week and sit in a $50 Walmart blind in view of a roadway over a pile of corn with your crossbow, I'm assuming, or whatever. I guess you could try shooting your bow out of that. But it's unbelievable to me that he was able to drum up enough business to keep this stuff going.
It's not to me. I feel like it's almost too easy.
Not to mention, he was also a fugitive from justice.
Yeah. Our local guy was and still is and has been arrested.
He finally
and-
keeps getting arrested for these charges in North Dakota and all
Yep,
that shit.
yep.
The guy that was here,
Yeah, the
No
local
shit.
one has been arrested umpteen times
is he
as well.
Is he a local? As in,
Yeah.
like,
Yes,
lives
Yeah,
local?
He went to school with our dad.
Yeah, he grew up
Oh,
in this
no
area.
shit.
He's
Dirtbag
known
back then, too.
Yeah, he's always been a dirtbag. But this guy that runs the Whitetail Heaven Outfitters, you know, one of the biggest, most premier outfitters on the planet. If you would search their stuff, it looks great. You know, like, everything about it looks great. But in reality, you know, there's farmers in here who said they haven't been paid. Another farmer sued $35,000 because they rode four-wheelers all over his fields, did damage, did this, did that, and never paid for it. I mean, the list of things this guy did to people was just extremely long. Guides showing up drunk, guides with 10 people underneath them to get them in their spots.
So then he basically left and went to Florida?
Well, they do guided Florida hunts or guided turkey hunts in Florida in the spring.
I mean, it's
so-
basically corruption.
Yeah.
You know, it's
It's taking advantage of our resources and the fact that people don't have anywhere to hunt, using a catchy website and Facebook social media following to like appear awesome, and then just swindling their money from them.
Yeah, it's a story. I mean, it's as old as time. It's just like any roofing company or electrician.
Yep.
They do the same shit.
Yep.
They offer this contract, and you're like, oh, yeah, our prices are better than everybody else, and then their hack job.
Yeah.
This is the same thing.
Yeah. People have been taking advantage of other people since the beginning of time.
This just sucks because they're taking advantage of a public resource, a resource that's on other people's, a wild resource.
You know, I guess the thing that bothers me about it is if you're a landowner here or even in any of these places, if you're a landowner, buy this stuff, you're paying the taxes. The deer are your local herd. So any management that you or anyone else is doing is benefiting those deer. You know, you're working the land. You had to live with the ramifications and the fallout. And then these people just come in, kill, and leave.
Yeah, throw a check on the table or don't throw a check on the table.
It was
Offer to throw a check on the table.
It was stated that they would go to these properties and basically kill every deer that wasn't a spike and then just move on to another property and let that one sit. And they would just go in and just pillage. The one farmer said it takes 4 to 5 years for that deer population, the population of bucks, to reestablish after they come in and just kill everything.
Sounds about right.
In Kentucky, you can use rifles too, and then they have the early muzzleloader and all that. So, I mean, a pile of corn surrounded by 15 hunters at different angles, you're going to kill a lot of deer that way. Deer still have to eat. And I don't know. It's just terrible.
Yeah, it's just a big black eye. Another one. You know?
Yep. And it's just, I think it's funny how all these things are hitting social media kind of at the same time. Like all this stuff is happening right now. Like I alluded to earlier, I think it's just because there's not much else to do, so people are kind of stewing.
I also think it's trendy. Like, you know, remember when the theaters were a thing? Mm-hmm. When a scary movie came out, a bunch came out. Yeah. Because it was like the trend. Yep. You know, that's what this is. It's going to be trendy of like poaching and.
Yeah, did CJ Alexander start all this with poaching being trendy?
I mean, he might. I do believe that the CJ Alexander situation helped shed an eye on. Well, let's call out all these fuckers and like let's hammer them all.
I hope that's
public hangings. Public hangings.
What I think, why his story was so different was because he went the extra mile to lean into. Like he went on one of the biggest hunting podcasts in the world to defend it face to face on camera. I mean, that's just next level. Like,
and then he was proven in the wrong, proven to be wrong, convicted to be wrong.
I read that he knew all that was happening when he was on Hunter. So like when he was on the Hunter podcast doing all that, he already had his phone confiscated by the police, and they were already like in the preliminary stages of saying like, bro, get your shit lined up. Because
he was trying to squeeze out.
The criminal was lying.
Yeah, but like he knew he was being caught already.
Yeah.
Like
he just wanted his money.
It's almost like
his
sociopathic though, like his disregard for what was actually what was reality versus what he thought was
well, we still have the defenders out there. Every couple days we get one commenting, defending.
Of course.
He ain't raping people. It's just a deer. Fuck the state. The state don't own them things.
That judge.
Robin Hood. You know,
there's quite the defenders out there for him still.
Yeah.
I mean,
put them under investigation.
He was raised in an environment where lying is okay because like I get away with it. I beat them. I salute them. I swindled them. You know. I
think you come from you know, like a culture of that's not a real crime.
Yeah,
there are real crimes. Yeah. That's not a real crime.
Yeah,
shooting a deer, not a real crime.
Yeah,
Robin Hood, and it's all subjective.
Yeah,
just doesn't go with our ideals.
No,
or what's legal.
No, and
what's good.
And we do too much on camera and too much in the public spotlight to try to pull any of that shit. Like, imagine trying to pull some shit like that. Saying we shot a world record buck. We just happened. Siman Brothers Outdoors just happened to shoot a world record buck, guys. Here it is. Like,
it's not on video.
Yeah, not on video. We don't have it. Caleb doesn't have 14 million trail camera photos of it. Like, yeah, it just won't work. But this kid tried. Kudos to him for trying.
Yeah. Well, he's in prison.
And now some old man's trying it, so we'll see how it works out.
He's in prison right now.
Yes, he is in prison. That's
I mean,
a fact.
What do you think's worse between the two? I think, you know, CJ's case. A lot of people would say it's a victimless crime, which I don't agree with. But this guy was fleecing people. So which one's worse?
They're both. I think they're just both equally bad.
Yeah,
they're both equally bad. There's definitely not a victimless crime with the guy swindling your money for the outfitting.
There's definitely more to be said. This guy probably harmed more people in doing what he's doing.
Right.
Yes.
What CJ
con
did.
man.
Yeah.
CJ was CJ ended up just hurting himself and
basically
anyone local who may have been hunting that deer and had a connection to it.
It certainly did not hurt Hunter. It certainly did not hurt. It didn't hurt our podcast.
No, certainly not. Yeah, certainly did. This is the most watched episode and most streamed episode of all time for us. When it comes to the podcast, was us just rambling about. It wasn't us rambling. It was us repeating what CJ had said to us in private messages.
Well, I think too, there's a ripple effect of when these black eyes get out there, landowners are going to be less apt to give permission, less apt to lease. Yep. Like it starts hurting access as a whole. The more and more this shit goes down, landowners want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with that.
Would that help things?
Would it help it?
If landowners stopped giving people permissions,
our hunting would get better.
Our hunting would get much better. Would it be a good thing for a whole? That's the question.
Well, yeah.
Public land would be more busy, but public land's already busy because the people that hunt public land can't afford to lease.
I think it's one of those things. What's good for the goose, good for the gander, right? So if what is good for your individual hunting is probably not great for hunting in and of itself.
Yeah.
Because now you have less hunters, less access, which makes your hunting better, but hunting the
Overall.
idea of and overall suffers.
And I will say, we see a lot of the infighting, but from a grand scheme of things, at least here, hunting seems to be pretty safe. The only thing that's hurting hunting around here for us is each other.
Yeah.
We're not getting any opposition, I wouldn't say.
No.
From whether it be the left, the right, the whatever it is, hunters are not getting much opposition here where we're hunting. Out west may be a different story.
Yeah, it's not a hotbed here. It's
No.
part of the culture.
You don't
here,
even
so no one's fighting.
You don't even really hear about anti-hunters.
The only time I hear about it is like when a town near us wants to do a call.
Yeah.
That's the only time they start chirping, you know. And they're almost not even anti-hunters. They're just kind of animal lovers.
Yeah.
And they're like, save the deer. I love them in my backyard, you know. But
We don't really have that many passionate anti-hunters around here that we've run into.
no, out west, though, it's gotten bad from a legislative point. You know, there's a group I joined called HOWL, HOWL. They're very active in watching legislative bills that are getting slipped through to ban certain hunts, and that's, you know, the slippery slope.
They're like the ones trying to ban the cougar hunt or
Yep.
ban the bear hunt.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And
It's a lobbying. Is it a lobbying organization?
Yeah, and they'll get that information out there. And one of the coolest things I've ever seen a group do, they make it as easy as possible for you, the hunter, to go on there, click on a link that will take you to the representative's email, and then they have an AI generate different emails that you don't even have to type up, expressing your opposition.
And it sends to them.
And it sends it to them. So all four of us log in, click on the link. It will generate a well thought out email and send it for you. All different. Because if it's cut and paste, it has less impact. Like the representative reads the same cut and paste 50 times, but if he reads 50 individual letters,
Yeah, but that representative is just going to copy and paste it into it. Is this AI generated? 99.
Yeah, I was just
kidding. Oh, it doesn't matter.
You'd be like, hey, fuck this person.
Nah,
it doesn't matter.
They probably
This is
have
a robot.
filters on AI.
This is a
generated
robot
emails.
talking to me. I don't
But
have to
They're
listen
not
to
going to
them.
read. They
But
probably won't read.
There
those.
is something to be said about contacting those legislators and stuff.
Yeah.
If they're presenting a bill that may shut down cougar hunting or something and they get no public opposition,
right.
Yeah.
then why would they not do it? But if they get 1,000 emails from people and their constituents,
Yeah, which side has more money? That's what matters.
no,
the end.
it does.
I
matter.
think it's more noise than money. I think who makes the most
and this
noise.
is a huge thing in the West, and for us here, it's not.
Right.
But maybe we should support some of that Western stuff.
Because here's what's going to happen. This is my bro science of how this is going to play out.
Favorite J term.
favorite J term.
How it's going to play out over the next 15, 20 years. I think hunting out west will basically become unaffordable.
Big money game.
And
you
that's,
can make the argument that it is now.
I was gonna say it's already.
You can
almost
make the
unaffordable.
argument now, and you're seeing the direction it's going. And it's never coming back this way. It keeps going that way. And in 15, 20 years, our living isn't going that way. Our income isn't going that way. So it's going to outprice your average bloke. And I think it'll come back to where whitetail hunting will again be like it was in the 90s, just through the roof, because it's the only thing left affordable to do.
Mm-hmm. We won't be going elk hunting because
but I think they're
it'll
going to
be
become
residents only without
it'll be
crazy
residents
draws and expense.
And then so all those non-residents like us that used to go west are just going to come here.
Mm-hmm.
And
it already is. Most of the states are 80-20 on tags, 90-10 on tags. So the 90% resident, 10% non-resident. That's how.
And there's some western states that the residents have barely any opportunity. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine living in New Mexico.
Yeah, I mean New Mexico,
Arizona,
Utah has a strict resident draw. I mean,
we can hunt in Utah more than the residents can.
Certain
There's tags we can draw every year, every other year, and they can only draw them every 3 years, every 4 years.
See, that's crazy.
Just it's a numbers game.
Yeah,
but that's
and it's politics.
How is Trump selling off the national forests and logging it going to affect that?
We'll see.
Yeah, it's so for people who don't know, that just I'm sure it's going to be it's not as simple as he clicks his fingers and this happens. But
Right.
he has okayed 50% of national forest to be opened up for logging. That's to include some of the South, some of the Great Lakes, and mostly out west.
I was reading that one article. He pretty much made it easier. So these logging companies could go in and they could bid, and they can get all these things. He made it easier for them to do that. It's not like he snapped his fingers and said, all right, we're cutting down all these trees in this national forest now.
Right. So basically he lifted the restrictions.
Yeah.
There were there was a planned restriction for logging in the national forest because that is public land. If you've ever been out west, there's tons of public land that's being used for grazing or for windmills, things like that. So there is some of it,
and there is
already.
a lot of national forest that has been logged and is being logged. The
Yeah.
place where
Yeah.
the place where we bear
Correct.
hunt, without giving away any information.
Yep.
It's actively being logged, once over the 20 years.
Yep.
So everywhere we go is old logging roads, old logging cuts.
But it was 20, 30 years
Yeah,
ago.
and those could get logged again, which would make hunting those specific places very difficult. Or
I don't know,
make
it'd make it
hunting
a little
very
bit easier
it
if we
would-
could see the damn
It
side
would
of
make
the mountain.
hunting very easy, but also there'll be a road going where there hasn't been a road in 20 years.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as like when you first sent me the article, it was sticker shock to me. I'm like, oh fuck, here we
Yeah.
go. And then I read it.
That's what they want.
And yeah, it's kind of like it's not. I'm not a guy that the sky is falling yet guy, but it's crumbling.
Yeah.
It's definitely crumbling.
The place that worries me is where we elk hunt, wildlife area, national forest. Like, what would happen if they decided to log that?
I think it's just going to end access. Again, you're not going to want to hunt.
Like, would
where
there just be a road where
because
we
like
go?
where I hunted in New Mexico, it was basically a working oil field. It was a terrible experience. One of the most sought after mule deer tags in the country.
is a grid line of roads and oil wells.
Yeah, I mean it's just dirt roads all over the place. You can't get more than a couple miles away from an oil well, an oil rig, an oil truck. Like it's a working oil field, and it's just not enjoy. That's not the kind of hunt I enjoy. So I mean, people still buy the tags. People still hunt.
Yeah, and I mean, people love access, so it will create more access. Whether there'll be animals there to hunt.
Yeah. And what's your experience going to be?
Yeah.
So the conversation you guys are having now with the sky's not falling yet, but it's crumbling, and there's talks of logging. Is this the same conversation they had 30 years ago? And then at first it was, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. And then over 30 years, it got better and better and better and better. And then we're at the point again.
So here's what scares me.
Because you said there's no roads there for 30 years. Obviously, 30 years ago, there was people in there messing it all up, but it's recovered.
Yeah. And it depends on what the end game is, because what scares me is the toying around with the idea of selling public land. Mm-hmm. And that's where I get a little scared that these things are all happening at the same time. We're going to log this out. We have all this unusable public land. Well, you're not letting us use it. We can't get a tag. We can't get access. Now I can't use it because you're logging it. Like so if they're going to sell public land and privatize it for real estate, and that's the end game, this is a good way to start.
Yeah,
That's scary.
but they may be just logging it, then they replant the trees and they come back in 30 years.
Maybe.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't like those two conversations happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like toying with the idea of, well, we have these unused public lands. Whoa.
And I don't exactly like the whole housing crisis that's going on
Yeah.
right now. Let's have more lumber. Let's clear more land. They're literally going to be cutting down trees, clearing land, building a house with that lumber there.
It's a very convenient conversation to have at the same time.
It's a convenient effects going on.
Yeah.
And then you got the oil welling, like oil drilling as well. Obviously, everybody says bring that back to America, blah, blah, blah. Bring it. But until it's in your backyard.
I also don't love the argument of housing crisis. It's not that there aren't enough houses. There's not enough affordability.
Yeah.
It's not a supply thing. There's plenty of houses for sale. People can't fucking afford them. Mm-hmm. So I don't I don't like it. I don't like the idea, even toying with the idea of touching our public lands. That we own that. Like one of the most popular shirts you see out west is public land owner, because we own the public land.
And then you can go into the conversation of all the parks workers and forestry workers and stuff that are no longer working.
Correct. Yep.
Because of cuts.
Yep.
And reconstructures of.
Yeah, and it's probably gonna drum up a lot of political talk of however you voted, what your stance on. I don't like the idea of toying with our public lands. It's one of the last sacred things in this country, and we're the only country in the world that has what we have. Let's not fuck with that. It's the last sacred thing.
And you have to find that happy medium, keeping the public lands sort of untouched, but then also accessible.
Right.
But then you don't want them too accessible.
Right.
You don't want Yellowstone National Park's parking lot where we're trying to elk hunt.
Right.
So it's a balancing game, and everything that's going on in the world right now is kind of knocking that off balance.
Right.
And hopefully we don't feel the effects too badly.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's too early to say what the fallout. These are all ideas and thoughts and plans right now. We haven't reached summer out west to see if we have enough workers to be able to handle that. We haven't reached the part where they have started to log the public land. We haven't reached the part where any of the stuff is actually starting to come to fruition. We're just in the beginning stages of it.
And unfortunately, the way that the world works right now is the guy who got elected president is not the guy the media likes. So they're going to try to misconstrue anything they can.
Right. Yeah,
to
that's
make us feel
thing.
negatively about that when we might not be getting the full story either. The media outlets are always going to try to come after his supporters, which are hunters and people that hunt out west, and try to turn them against him.
Well, you could the reality of what happens politically is flipped narrative wise either direction by their feelings at that moment in time. We can go back to just Obama's presidency and see that some of the things that Trump is doing now is the same exact thing Obama was doing. And people were okay, certain people were okay with it when Obama was doing it, but they're not okay with it when Trump is doing it. Like, as recent as that, we're flipped narratives in our political narratives have flipped. And
it's the same thing with the logging. I guess Biden was trying to get this stuff started.
Yes.
And he was riding the ponytails of the wildfires.
Yes.
So if people don't know, especially California or like places like that, if the forest is left unaltered, they don't go and log it, they don't go clean it up, it's way more likely to burn down and way more likely to cause giant fires.
Also, there's a big difference between thinning out for wildfires and clear cutting for lumber.
Yes.
Those are two. Clear cutting is devastation.
So unfortunately, this is all political.
Clear cutting's not as bad as mining. Have you ever been to the mining places?
Yeah.
Holy shit. They alter the landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's just the part that scares me the most is that those two conversations are happening at the same time. Of we're toying with the idea of what it would look like to turn public land into housing market, and just at the same time we're also opening up the public land for logging. It's gross. I don't like it. I don't like it so close.
And I guess we'll have to see what happens. We'll talk to people on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to record a podcast a week for the rest of the foreseeable future. So when stuff starts to happen, we'll be able to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just scary times right now.
Yep.
Was like Jackson Hole and Bozeman, were those all public lands at one point and they got overrun with people, or is it?
Well, so Bozeman is a city
Yeah.
that just blew up. And it's just a beautiful town. It's a cool town. And it just, I have a family member that actually was a perfect example of how that place blew up. He is an executive chef. He lived in San Diego. He ended up, without the whole backstory, getting a job offer in Bozeman, but they were going to pay him the same thing he was getting in San Diego. Well, in San Diego, it was middle class. In Bozeman, he was upper class.
Was.
Well, I mean, and that was just one example of what happened a couple thousand, because people, the wages in California, and then this Bozeman is this beautiful place, and all these Californians started buying. I mean, you don't go to Bozeman now and tell people you're from California because it's just people don't like it. You know, it's a dirty word. They blew that place up. And then Jackson Hole has always been a
ski town.
Yeah, it's one of the most expensive places in the country to live because of its celebrities own there. You know, you go there for a visit, for an Airbnb for a couple nights, and it's a.
I just didn't know if we've already seen this in the past 60 years, 70 years or so.
No,
or if
never.
it's completely
There's
different.
There's been in the last 10 years, there's been like chatter about selling the public lands to the state, the federal selling it to the state, but there shouldn't be that shift because the feds don't want to pay the cost of land that's in a state like this. Like that should be your that should be your problem. But the states can't afford it.
But then if the state decides what to do with the land, it may be an issue.
So it's a slippery slope. In my lifetime that I know of, there's never been that conversation at the same time of like, okay, we're going to open up this to logging, and we're talking about maybe building houses and privatizing public land. Like that has never happened. So that's the scary part.
I got something off topic, just a touch. The world record elk that was recently shot.
Yeah.
Have you done
by the dude that shot 300, 400?
Have you done any more reading into that? Because that hit the airwaves. There was a bunch of he posted obviously the pictures of him.
I know we talked in briefly that he shot it in someone's backyard from a jungle gym or some shit.
That was the rumor, but there have been people posting pictures of that elk living in their backyards, eating their flower. You know, this was an elk that was living relatively close to neighborhoods at one point during its life cycle. Now, I don't know if he migrated up into the hills to breed and got killed 5 miles away. You know, obviously, if that's the case, what are we even talking about? But speaking of the controversy in records and the internet, it hit me when you guys started talking about out west that there was some with that guy. And, you know, he's either the best elk hunter in the history of the world.
No, he's got the biggest pocketbook.
That's typically what it is.
Yeah.
Typically what it is.
But you still have to be a good hunter, right? Or no?
No,
you can't just buy elk.
No.
Can
No.
you?
You could go buy a hunt over a alfalfa pivot and shoot the elk from a line. On
Or if
day.
it's in someone's backyard, be like, hey, do you give a shit about that elk? Here's $30,000 for me to sit here one night.
I think I read that the elk was shot over apples, and it's like not illegal to bait where it was done. Like,
Yeah,
it was a baited city elk hunt for the world record. You know?
Unless I'm there, I don't really believe anything that's we're seeing on YouTube.
Exactly.
Unless I'm there or I know the person and trust the person, it's hard to believe any of the shit.
I was hitting we talked about it in our one group chat, but I was not hitting the jaw, but like there was a YouTube channel that I enjoyed. We've met them before. They're way bigger than us. They are famous bear hunters on YouTube, and I read online. It could be false information, but it's just one of those things.
We're gonna spread some rumors.
They catch wind. You know, they portray their videos as like they are these ultimate bear and turkey hunters and public land deer hunters, and they kill all this stuff in West Virginia, and they do a great job. And public land this, public land that. Be like, you could be just like us, you know, like we're out there just regular Joes grinding. I read online that the majority of their content is actually filmed on a 7,000 acre private coal mine lease, and there's nothing public about it at all. But they portray it as public because there's no rule about lying on YouTube.
Yeah, because they would show some pretty incredible videos that you're like, I don't know if I believe. They spot and stalk giant whitetails in West Virginia on like these coal mine, like they're like open prairies with coal mine roads going through, and they say it's public land, and like, I want to go do that.
Right. And then they're treeing like 30, 40 bears a season, these big giant boars, and they're going down in mine shafts. And I mean, if you're anyone that watches YouTube, you already know who I'm talking about.
I've never heard
but
of it.
it's you know, it just, not that I guess I shouldn't say that it hurts or that it sucks, but it's like you have a thought process of people in your mind, and then when you find out that your heroes aren't your heroes, that are just dirtbags who lied on the internet.
There's very few people that we watch on the internet that are telling the whole story.
Maybe that's why we're not so popular. We don't do
Because we tell the whole story. Like the whole story.
You gotta start lying.
We need to
more.
start fucking lying more, bro.
Yeah.
We need to start lying.
That's awesome.
I don't know. We get on here an hour every week and tell the truth, and maybe that's our
Tens of listeners, the guys were saying. You guys got tens of listeners.
Dozens of
Who's your
followers.
guy? You said your buddy who called out a famous hunter for lying about how.
I'm not going to.
You're not going to go there.
No. I he's too big, and I mean that's suable stuff.
Yeah, don't you?
And I'm not gonna.
I kind of hate that people can sue us for just conjecturing on a podcast for an hour.
Yeah, no, I just, but I can talk in general terms that I have a friend who works for a very big outfitter out west. He's very well connected and one of the biggest Western influencers who does a lot of DIY public stuff, has hired an outfitter, hired a helicopter to get flown into inaccessible areas and be guided on private ranches, and then all his videos are DIY public. And it's he's like, dude, my buddy told me, he's like, I know the outfitter he hired, and they sign NDAs.
Yeah,
those are NDAs. Those are legal. You don't get to speak about it for this amount of money.
Everything gets scrubbed. You get sued.
Yep.
The world of NDAs is something.
It is.
You can see illegal shit, and you can't say anything about it.
Well,
you can see blatant lies, and
Yeah.
you can't say anything about it.
Yep.
I mean,
get sued
this
for
outfitter, not NDA was a bad choice of words, but I mean, that was the whole thing. You can come here, but you're not allowed to leave a bad review. So you have to lie about your experience in order to hunt here.
But where that's going to come out, though, I think, is he's probably going to get sued, and those people that got fleeced out of the money are going to sing like birds about their poor experience.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the topic for the day.
Anything you want to add, Ethan?
Nope. I've been watching this hunting video.
It's like one of the. This is a Seek One, and it's Seek One and THP together shooting does or something.
Yeah. Well, you want to end it up?
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing else for this one.
What's the episode? 89?
89.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. I know it's been a little bit of a long haul, but Deer Shot Podcast episode 89. We are out.